I told you he was in the house. Well, he's not in the house. I am in the central region where I had to catch up with him. I mean, he's the president. What can I say? Show some love, man. Anyway, when he became vice president, I was the first person to give him his first television interview, man. And he's now his president, and I'm the first again. So show some love for TPM. Anyway, August, I'm very, very privileged to be here and honored to sit down with him. Put your hands together like you've never done before. Show some love for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. I won't say welcome to the show, but I actually, welcome to the show.
You welcome to the show.
First question I want to ask you, Your Excellency, the day that Professor Mills died, where exactly were you? At what time did you hear the news and your reaction?
I was in the office. We had gone for a program at the International Conference Center. That prof was supposed to attend. This was the launch of Brand Ghana. And then he had left a minute asking them to tell me to represent him. So I did that together with the chief of staff. And then when we finished, we came back to the office. And so I went straight up to my office and started to work. I had a courtesy call by General Obasanjo. He was coming to give a lecture at UDS, a lecture series that UDS had instituted. And he was paying a courtesy call on me before continuing to Tamale. So I was just preparing to receive him, you know, when I got a call from the chief of staff. Remember, I had come back with him from the conference center. And then he said he had just been called to the residence and that prof was not feeling well. And so they had called for an ambulance and they were going to take him to 37. So I said I was receiving General Obasanjo, and when I finish, I'll follow up to the hospital. And so I went ahead and received the general. And then when I finished, I came to my office to pick up my mobile phones. It was at that minute, that time, I think I was about, if I remember properly, it was about 2:30 thereabouts, almost 2:30. And then I got a call from the chief of staff, and he asked where I was. And I said I was just leaving to come and join them in the hospital. And then he said I should wait in the office, that there was no need to come, and that the president had just passed away. This was about 2:30, or shortly before 2:30. And it was a very sad day. I just collapsed in my chair and broke down and wept like a baby. And it's not something I like to recount. Yeah.
So that evening, here you are, you know, have to be sworn in as president, and we could tell you were tensed up. What was going through your mind as you are swearing in and this whole?
Now what happened was, after this had happened, my ADC locked up my office, and so I was in the office by myself, just trying to gather myself. I was there for about an hour when the speaker, Honorable Dua Jahu, the Attorney General, and some other people came to see me. And so my ADC called on the intercom and said they wanted to see me. So I went into the little washroom and washed my face to try and look a bit composed. And so they came in and said that they had referred to the Constitution and that the swearing in must take place immediately as soon as possible. I protested. I thought that we could do it the next day because I just didn't see how I could bring myself to go through a ceremony like that with the kind of tragic news that one had received. But they were insistent and said that by the provisions of the Constitution, you know, there didn't have to be a vacuum left. And so they were going to recall Parliament because Parliament had been adjourned for the day. And despite my protestations, I mean, they insisted and said that Parliament will convene at 6 and that the swearing-in will take place at 7:30. And so what I did was to close and go home and try to you know, get myself together to be able to go through something like that. It was a very difficult time. I prayed to God to give me the strength to go through it. I slept for a while. I woke up, I took a shower, and I dressed up. The rest is a daze. It was just a blur of faces, and I just managed to get through the ceremony without, you know, breaking down again. But I think that is all part of history now.
And now you are the president. How has it been so far?
I'm lucky to have served with a person like Professor Mills. I guess that the period of working as his vice president probably prepared me for the moments, you know, that were to come later. He's a person of resilience, you know, and he has great faith in what he does. And he also is a very tolerant person, very patient, you know. In those ways, my disposition and his are similar because I also have a very long fuse. I don't get angry easily. He was very civil and polite. I have the same disposition. So in many ways, we share some of the same characteristics. But he gave me quite a lot of leverage in terms of governance. And as you know, I headed the economic management team. I headed the Armed Forces Council. I headed the Police Council. He put me in charge of the Decentralization Implementation Committee and several other committees. And so it gave me a certain, you know, technical grasp of running a government, which has proved quite useful in the period after. It makes me understand all the sectors and what needs to be done in the sectors. And so I think that in that way, it's been very beneficial.
What's the most frustrating? I heard you one time reacting to rumors. How do you deal with that when you hear the rumors? How do you keep calm, or how do you?
That's the bane of our politics, you know, and I believe that is what keeps a lot of decent people from coming into politics. I mean, somebody will sit and concoct a story about you, and if you weren't yourself, you believe it. Seriously. No, he'll just take half-truths and weave a whole story about you. Everybody else will believe it. It's only you who knows yourself who will say this story is not true. You know, and there have been several like that. I give a recent example. We went to the North on a campaign. Somebody wrote a story in Daily Guide and said my convoy had killed a pregnant woman and they had to call a traditional medicine person to come and cut open her stomach and take the baby out. Where did that come from?
Wow.
Absolutely nothing like that had occurred. Absolutely. You know, so you wonder what is the reporter thinking when he files a story like this? They say, me and my wife took $170 million World Bank cash and put it in our Swiss account. I've been to Switzerland only once in my life because my sister lives there, you know. And I mean, that absolute fabrication. And I mean, several others. I mean, every day they just keep churning them out.
Are you able to let them roll off your back, or you're afraid that they will stick, and so you need to respond?
When I came into politics, they said that you must develop a thick skin. You know, I was very sensitive to these things before, but I guess gradually my skin is getting thick enough. It's not a crocodile skin, but at least, you know, some of these things bounce off a bit. For the more serious ones, you have to respond and set the record straight. And so we have a team that, I mean, if the allegation is serious enough, we just put it out there and then correct, you know, whatever harm has been done. But often the harm has been done. You can't guarantee that all people who read the allegations that were made would read the response. And so sometimes it just keeps, you know, sticking in people's head and creating a certain negative perception about you. But we'll take it in our stride. It's an occupational hazard.
Okay. Now let's go a little bit to your childhood, man. We know John the politician. Your childhood days, growing up. Your book. Congrats. I didn't know you were a writer as well. Is there a writer at you somewhere?
It's my first book.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I have had a stint at writing. You know, I have a training as a media person.
Okay.
And so I have been contributing features to newspapers. And recently, even as vice president, I kept writing features for online newspapers and all that. So I do have a flair for writing. But this book...
The chapter on bullying,
Yeah.
I seem to think that is one of the funniest chapters I ever... Can you share that?
Yeah, I will. This book was triggered by my father's death. And so it's dedicated to my father. A lot of it is about my father. But there's a chapter in there that talks about my days in Achimota Primary School. And I had two friends. And we had this student who came and joined us, I think in class 3. And he was stocky and well-built and much older than all of us. And so as soon as he came into the school, he started to push us around, order us around, and he became our own certified bully. You know, he really molested us, you know, abused us and all that. Then one day he came out with a decree. You know, between meals, we had snacks. So after breakfast, sometime around 11, they'll give us a piece of cake or something, and then we have lunch. Then in the afternoon, about 3:30, they'll give us, you know, some fried plantain and granuts or something like that, you know. And then he came and passed an edict that we were to deliver our afternoon snacks to him every day, and he would decide what to do with them. So religiously went and, you know, gave it like an offering to him, and he would divide it disproportionately, you know, give you the smaller piece, and then he'll keep the bigger piece. And he'll do it for all 10 boys in the dormitory. And then he'll keep it and keep munching the whole day, the whole afternoon till evening. Then the next day, the cycle is repeated. So one day, with two of my friends, we decided to, you know, rebel. And so we agreed on the plan and everything. And the D-Day came. We had organized our coup speech and all that. And so when we went and took the snacks, I took my snack, and according to the agreement, we were to eat the snacks and go empty-handed. So I started eating mine, and I munched the whole thing. At that point, my friends, you know, like, got scared and decided that we should postpone the day of the coup d'etat. But I'd eaten mine already. So what was I to do? They said they'll go and give a story that my snack fell in the sand and something, you know. But I realized there was no turning back, you know. So when we got to the bully, to the dormitory, he asked where my snack was. So I immediately launched into our coup speech.
You had to prepare a school speech?
Oh, we had prepared a coup speech. I said our fathers pay our fees, and the fees pay for our snacks, and so he had no right taking the snacks from us, and that from that day on, I wasn't going to give him my snack. Oh, he beat me. He kicked me, I fell down, he punched me, you know, and he was stronger than me. So afterwards, he let me go. The next day, I ate my snack.
You ate it again?
I ate it again. There was no turning back. I ate it again, he beat me. The third day, I ate it again, he beat me. Then after the third day, he made an announcement and said, okay, Mahama is exempted from the snack, you know, edict. But all of you keep bringing your snacks, okay?
So you got the exemption?
I got exemption, yeah. It's an incident that just stuck in my mind. I mean, he was a real bully. I mean, if he was going to the bathroom, he asked you to pick his sponge and towel and follow him, and he will walk like a king, and then you follow him with his towel and his sponge and all that.
Do you remember his name?
I do. I've changed his name in the book.
Okay.
Because he's still alive, and I didn't want it. I didn't want any trouble.
Does he remember that he bullied somebody who's now the president?
I haven't seen him since we left school. But every boy in Achimota who went through in the years that I went through remembers him. Everybody. If I mention it, anywhere people read it, they say, oh, yeah.
That's the guy.
And somebody says somewhere in Kumasi. So when I was writing the book, I changed the name. You know? So in the book, it's called Ezra, but that's not his real name.
Ezra. All right. Well, Ezra, if you're watching, he's not the president, but you're still welcome to bully him if you can. Stick around. We'll take a commercial break. We'll be right back.